Hi, class. So today's lesson is going to be on a second type of cell division, and this is known as meiosis. So we talked about mitosis last class. Mitosis is the cell division that happens in all somatic cells, which are body cells, other than the sex cells. So meiosis has a different function, and we're going to talk about these things today. So meiosis is the function is for the formation of sex cells, also known as gametes. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some terminology that you all need to be familiar with by the end of this lesson. Okay, so a gamete is a sex cell basically with half the number of chromosomes as a somatic cell. So as a human being, all of our cells have 46 chromosomes. All of our body cells have 46 chromosomes. However, the sex cells in humans, so whether we are male or female, they have half the number of regular chromosomes. So they would have 23 chromosomes instead of 46. Oops. Sex chromosomes in humans, the 23rd pair of, that's basically 23 pairs of chromosomes, and this determines the biological gender of the individual. So the function of the sex chromosomes is to determine the biological gender of the individual. So it will determine whether a human is female or male. And I will explain that to you in a little while. So biological females will have what are known as two X chromosomes. So the genotype would be XX, okay? Biological males have one X chromosome and they have one Y chromosome, so they are X and Y. Autosomes are all the other chromosomes within living cells. So you have two chromosomes that are sex chromosomes, and then all the other chromosomes are known as autosomes. Haploid is the term. Basically, it means half. So a cell with one set of chromosomes, or half the set of chromosomes. Okay, so for humans, the haploid number is N is equal to 23. So it's half the number of chromosomes. And therefore diploid, meaning double, 2 times N, means that there are two sets of chromosomes. So for human beings, the diploid number would be N is equal to 46. So haploid, half the number of chromosomes, which is 23. Diploid, double the number of chromosomes, which is 46. Oops, sorry. Gametes are haploids, and somatic cells, which are regular body cells, are diploids. So gametes have half the number of chromosomes. Somatic cells have diploid, double the number of chromosomes. Okay, so just a quick little activity that I would have done in front of you in class, but basically I'm going to label the images with the terms that we've just covered in the previous slide. So this is an example of a cross section or dissection of skin. Okay, these are this is a layer of skin, and underneath there's a lower epidermal layer of skin cells, and these are basically known as somatic cells. They're body cells. This is going to be a regular body cell, a somatic cell that basically divides to produce those gametes. Okay, the gametes have haploid. They are haploid. They have half the number of chromosomes, and the body cell is diploid, right? So this term over here would be diploid. This would be haploid. And this is the egg, this is the sperm cell, and these both types of cells are known as gametes. And all of these over here is basically basically this is called a karyotype. It's a photograph of your chromosomes, of a human set of chromosomes, and each of these where you have the numbers, these are all autosomes. They're all called autosomes because they are the regular chromosomes, and then these right here, X and Y, these are known as the sex chromosomes. Okay, so somatic cell, diploid, haploid, gametes, autosomes, and then finally sex chromosomes. A few more terms. So the word fertilization, you know this word, you know this term. It's basically when the male and female gametes, the sex cells, the egg and the sperm, come together and they fuse together. And therefore, because gametes or sex cells have half the number of chromosomes, when they do fuse together, you have diploid number. So you have haploid plus haploid coming together to produce a diploid number. So the fusion creates a double the number of chromosomes. So this is exactly what happens here. So this sperm, which is haploid, egg cell, which is haploid, there's 3 chromosomes that are in the sperm cell here, 3 chromosomes that are in the egg cell. This is not an example of a human type of fertilization, by the way, because we have way more. We have 23 chromosomes and 23 chromosomes here. But when they come together, they fuse, and there is now double the number of chromosomes, 2n. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as opposed to 3. So the resulting cell from fertilization is known as a zygote, and it has diploid number of chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes. Now these are chromosomes that are very similar in size and characteristic. They have the same genes. Okay, they have the same location of genes, and they usually are the same shape, they are the same size, and they will pair up together within the fertilized egg cell or the zygote. So, for instance, you have 1 chromosome from the female, 1 chromosome from the male, and both of these create a pair of homologous chromosomes. Both will code for the same set of characteristics. For example, both of them will have a gene that determines eye color, but each may have different versions of that characteristic. Okay, and these are known as alleles, but I'll talk about alleles later. So, for example, one of the chromosomes, homologous chromosomes, might code for brown eye color, coming from the female, and the male chromosome, the homologous chromosome, may code for blue eye color. Okay, but these 2 homologous chromosomes will come together and pair up. So what is meiosis? It's a special form of cell division that produces gametes, also known as sex cells. Remember, these have half the number of chromosomes as regular somatic cells or body cells. So meiosis is you basically start off with diploid number, and the chromosome numbers are halved. So you end up with cells that have haploid, and they have half the number of chromosomes. Fertilization takes place with two haploid cells, or haploid gametes specifically, and they create a cell that is fertilized and is diploid in number. So these are all terms that you really need to, you basically have to memorize them, okay? You really need to know what all these terms are. So meiosis and sexual reproduction. All right, so first of all, when you have a male and a female come together and they have sexual intercourse, the sperm cells, okay, the male gamete is the sperm cell, and it's produced in the testes of the male, and the female produces egg cells in the ovaries, okay, and so right over here, this is an egg cell, so these sperm cells and egg cells are produced through meiosis, through the process of meiosis in the testes and in the ovaries, okay, depending on what type of cell we're talking about, okay? They will both have half the number of chromosomes, so this is N. So N is equal to one set of chromosomes, haploid, and the egg cell will also be N, half or one set of chromosomes. When you have fertilization, you have 2N, so two sets of chromosomes, and therefore a diploid number. So this zygote will divide and divide through this process known as, you know it from last class, mitosis. And mitosis, the purpose of mitosis is for growth, okay? One of the main features of mitosis is it allows for growth and development of an individual. So a baby will be able to keep on growing and become a fully grown adult, and then become sexually reproductive as well. Mitosis also allows, as you know, for cells to repair themselves and to for dead cells to be replaced. Okay, so this is a combination of what's going on. Two things are happening in this diagram. So you have meiosis that is happening here, which produces a zygote eventually after fertilization. It allows for fertilization to take place, basically, and then that zygote that is formed after fertilization will undergo mitosis, and again and again and again, one cell becomes two becomes four becomes, and it just goes on and on and on until you have these individuals right here. So in humans, again, meiosis occurs in the gonads, okay? So in the female, this is the reproductive organs of the female. This is the right ovary, or if you're flipped over, this would be the left ovary and the right ovary. And in males, the meiosis occurs in the testicles, in the testes. Okay, the two terms for the formation of sperm and egg cells is different for males and females. So in males, it's known as spermatogenesis, and in females, the term is called oogenesis. Okay, so for egg cells, oogenesis; sperm cells, there is spermatogenesis. Whether in a female or male or female, the process of meiosis is exactly the same. So overview again, you have meiosis starting with a regular somatic cell it's the type of somatic cell that meiosis occurs in is also known as a germ cell. It's actually it is selected basically by nature to be a type of cell that will eventually become the sex cells or gametes. Okay, there is it's all within the DNA. It is predetermined whether a cell will become I guess a liver cell or a brain cell or a germ cell, and germ cells will be the ones that are responsible for meiosis and eventually become these gametes over here. Okay, starts off with a germ cell. The germ cell is diploid in number. Okay, and then you have there are two divisions in meiosis. Meiosis 1 right over here, and then you have meiosis 2, and eventually those two divisions result in the production of haploid daughter cells, which have half the number of cells as the original, first meiotic division. So meiosis occurs within that cell cycle, interfaces that part of the cell that all cells are, interfaces the longest part of any cell cycle. So the germ cell starts off as a diploid, 2N. Each chromosome will eventually, at the end of the interface, will result in a replication, so resulting in basically 4N. Okay, so this is the regular germ cell. The 2N basically are these chromosomes are replicated, so you basically have 4N. Prophase 1. So there's two stages. There's prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase 1, and then there's also prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase 2. The chromosomes will condense during prophase 1. Sister chromatids are held together by that centromere. So these are sister chromatids. There's 1 and 2 sister chromatids here, and then there's 1, 2 sister chromatids here, held together by this centromere. Crossing over occurs during prophase 1. This is a very, very important and very significant event. This allows for genetic information to be changed a little bit. There's an exchange of genetic information between the pairs of homologous chromosomes. So these two chromosomes, which are made up of those sister chromatids, they line up together because they are going to be responsible for the same characteristics. When they line up together, this formation is known as a tetrad. Tetrad meaning 4. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 chromatids. Okay, two chromosomes, but they're made up of these 4 chromatids, and this is known as a tetrad. And what happens is that the homologous chromosomes will kind of intertwine with each other. They will fuse with each other, and therefore they won't be exactly the same again. This allows for genetic variation. Okay, so this is what happens here: the tetrad formation and overlapping, and basically this the fusion happens, and you have got a little bit of this part of the chromosome on the blue one, and from the blue chromosome you have got parts of the blue chromosome on the red chromosome. Okay, so now they're not exactly the same anymore. The tetrad is the entity made when homologous chromosomes will cross. So the nuclear, also during prophase 1, nuclear membrane begins breaking down. Centrioles start forming spindle fibers right over here, just like in mitosis. Metaphase 1, those chromosomes, homologous chromosomes, line up in the middle of the cell. Notice how it's the homologous chromosomes now in the middle. It's not just single chromosomes as in mitosis. Spindle fibers from the centrioles will come and they will attach to the centromeres. And then during anaphase 1, the homologous chromosomes are pulled to the opposite poles or the sides of the cell. Telophase 1, you have the spindle fibers will break down. The nuclear membrane forms again around the chromosomes. If in human, each nuclei has 23 chromosomes, same as the parental cell, okay? Cytokinesis occurs. This is the pinching in if this is a human cell, but the two daughter cells remain adjacent to each other, okay? So remember the difference between cytokinesis in animal cells, the cell membrane is pinched. In plant cells, there is a cell plate that forms over here, but we're talking about human cells, so that's going to be the pinching in process. Mitosis 2. Prophase 2, the spindle fibers will attach to the chromosomes again. Metaphase 2, the chromosomes will line up randomly in the middle of the cell. Anaphase 2, the centromeres will split apart again and bring those sister chromatids. They split the chromosome into sister chromatids, and those sister chromatids will move to the opposite sides of the cell. Telophase, you will have the nuclei form around the chromosomes, and the spindle fibers will break down again. And cytokinesis will happen. And now, instead of just 2 cells, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. And you have now half the number. Each of those 4 daughter cells will have half the number of chromosomes as the parent cell. Okay? So, meiosis and genetic variation. So, mitosis, you have asexual reproduction. Daughter cells are all the cells that are produced from the parental cells are genetically identical. However, meiosis is a little different. Its purpose is for sexual reproduction. The gametes are genetically different, and this contributes to diversity. Okay, this is why children they sometimes look very similar to their parents, but they're not genetically identical to their parents. It's different than cloning, okay? How does meiosis achieve this genetic diversity? It's because of this crossing over process that happens in prophase 1. It causes different combinations of the genes on the chromosomes. And then also the random order in metaphase 1. Where the chromosomes line up randomly, so it's random which daughter cell each chromosome ends up with. Okay, so let's do this quick review of the mitosis versus meiosis. So in mitosis, there is only both are involved in cell division. DNA is copied before mitosis and meiosis. But in mitosis, the number of divisions is 1. Meiosis is 2. Pairing of chromosomes? No, that does not occur in mitosis. However, in meiosis, there's a pairing of homologous chromosomes that occurs during prophase 1. Does it create haploid or diploid cells? Mitosis creates exactly the same as the parent cell, which is diploid. Meiosis creates 4 haploid daughter cells. So number of daughter cells in mitosis is 2. Number of daughter cells in meiosis is 4. Genetic variation, nope. In mitosis, daughter cells are genetically identical. And in meiosis, the daughter cells are not genetically identical. Mitosis basically occurs in somatic cells in the body. So all the body cells are regular cells. And in meiosis, the division occurs in the germ cells, which are in the gonads. Okay, this is to produce sex cells, which are the ovary and within the ovary and the testes, to produce sperm cells and egg cells. And what is the function of mitosis? It is growth and repair, and meiosis is the function is for sexual reproduction and providing genetic variation. Okay, so I've already posted 3 videos for you to watch. It's up to you to watch them. The last one is also, they're animations, which are really good for understanding these concepts. And the last video that I post is a side-by-side animation difference of mitosis and meiosis. So I will talk to you again. On Tuesday, I'll be posting the next video lesson. Have a wonderful long weekend. I know it's probably not very different from any other day, other than the fact that you don't have to do any schoolwork on those days. If you don't want to, that is. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.